Board. All right, we are going to get right into it. So this webinar is how to sell and recruit in your Mary Kay business in 2019 and beyond. My name is Sean Smith. I am right there on the screen and right here on the computer if you've got your computer on, or if you've got the video on. I've been coaching and training in Mary Kay for a long time, 14 years now, including early 2006. And we developed a brand called Pink Caddy Coach, and we've been doing that for a long time. I'm also a life coach. I study personal development, human behavior, just anything that we can do to change our experience on this planet. And we just have a very acute understanding of the Mary Kay world. And none of my training is designed to override anything that you already intellectually know, and especially pretty much everything that I talk about is underneath what we already know. And we try to focus on and teach you how to implement, get underneath that knowledge and actually get in motion and clear fears and all the things that really, truly actually hold us back. So that's where I come from. That's who I am. And everything that I teach is meant to enhance your Mary Kay training in terms of what you know how to do, but also your embodiment of implementing it. Nothing is designed to take away from any of the fundamental truths about activity. It's just about how can we help you put the activity into motion. So let me tell you a little bit about this webinar. We're going to go for about 45 minutes or so, give or take a couple hours. And I'm going to teach you what I know to be true about the inner game of sales and recruiting in our new hyper-distracted, massively overwhelmed world of ours. If you have some ahas that you want to share, I would love for you to do it in the Pink Caddy Coaching group. You're all should be, hopefully, members of that group. If you're not, you can go to that link right there, facebook.com/group/Pink Caddy Coaching, and join the group. So feel free to share any of your ahas in that group. If you have questions and you're live on the webinar right now, you can put those questions in the chat box or make comments in the chat box. Everybody on the internet in the webinar will see them. I will not be monitoring and responding to them. And my invitation is that you take notes of inspiration. Don't just try to take all the notes that I write on the slides, because here's the thing. This is all getting recorded. You can go back and take down all of the things that I write on the slides. What I want you to take down are the things that come up in your head that are not on my slides. We don't have a recording of that, and you're not going to be able to capture your inspired thoughts. You can always go back and capture what I have on my slides, and stick around to the end, please. I'll let you know how to even go deeper into the personal mastery of all of this information. So let's start out with what is possible. It is absolutely still possible to build a successful, fulfilling Mary Kay business while having fun and loving what you do in the process. But you must understand the new rules of society, the new rules of humanity, the new rules of communication in this world. And what I'm inviting you to also do is don't listen to this knowledge and see if you know this. Knowing it is in your head. I want you to ask yourself if you embody this. If you embody it, now we know the knowledge has made its way into action. But if you don't embody it, then knowing it is actually more dangerous. Knowing it is actually increasing the distance between your knowledge and your implementation. So this is about embodiment. I want to make sure that you are taking action and not just collecting more information in your head. And most people nowadays in all walks of life, this is not just a Mary Kay specific issue. Most people are focused on surface level skills. And there's nothing wrong with understanding the skills that you have to do. But what's way more important than that is understanding yourself. Don't focus so much on the behavior, focus more on the behavior. Because knowing yourself and understanding what your challenges are and what your resistances are and what your fears are and what your conflicts are way more important, because when you can clear that, then you can actually implement the skills. But if you just focus on knowing the skills that you already have a resistance to doing, and you put more and more energy on the skills, but don't clear the conflicts, then all you're going to do is create more frustration. So what I'm about is mastery. I want you to master yourself. I want you to master awareness. I want you to master human learning, yours and other people's. I want you to master humanity. I want you to master authenticity. I want you to master the skills. I want you to master all areas of building your business and living a good life. And that all happens below the surface. We have to understand the human before we can start changing the human behavior. So you already know what to do. I'm positive of that, unless you just signed up in Mary Kay within the last hour. If you've been in Mary Kay longer than the previous hour, you know what to do when it comes to sales and recruiting. There are no new fundamental activities. You got to get in front of people. You got to talk to people. You got to invite them to things, and you have to repeat is basically it, right? So it's not about knowing what to do, and the fundamental skills are simple. They've been simple. They still remain simple. We complicate it too much, and we have things that are internal that stop us from doing those simple skills, or it slows us down from doing those simple skills. And as I said a little bit ago, more intellectual knowledge will actually just lead to more frustration. It won't lead to a breakthrough. It won't lead to more implementation. It will just frustrate you more if you continue to collect knowledge when you're not implementing the knowledge that you already have. Let me tell you briefly just a little bit about me. I'm a father and husband first. That's my family down there in the bottom right-hand corner. My wife, Sybil, my kids, Exley, and my daughter, McKenna. Son, Exley, daughter, McKenna. Oh, well, there you go. There are the names. My whole personal journey or personal development journey started in December of 1986. I was nearly killed as a 13-year-old as I was riding my bike to school, and that changed my perspective on life. I realized that no matter where we are, because I was high on life. I had just had massive success as a baseball player and that went to the Little League World Series. I was high on life. I was a little celebrity in my hometown. And driving to school one day, I was hit by a car traveling 50 miles an hour. The car flipped, or I flipped over the car. And by all details of the accident, I should have died that day. But thankfully, I did not. God felt that I wasn't done yet, apparently, and obviously I'm very appreciative of that. That changed the way I saw the world. I started to view everything differently. I started to think with regret in mind. What I mean by that is I started to have these thoughts of, what if I live my life? I know I only have one shot on this planet, and I almost got it taken away with no warning. What if I live my life and at some point I look back and go, wow, what if I would have done it differently? What if I would have done it better? What if I wouldn't have drank so much? What if I wouldn't have joined gangs? What if I wouldn't have done the drugs? I just had these thoughts. I was seeing a lot of my friends do the things that they were doing, like sirens going off in my head. What if I live a life that I regret? And some point in time, I look back and I realize I can't ever make up for that life that I didn't fully live. And so I've been driven by that fear, which I think is a positive fear of regret, ever since. In 2005, I had a massive shift in a personal development seminar that completely changed the game. So for about 20 years, I knew I wanted to succeed. I had a good work ethic. I showed up early. I stayed late, but I still was holding myself back well into my late 20s until I had this massive breakthrough. And I just had such a release of the weight that I was carrying around emotionally, and immediately we started having massive success. I started making more money than I ever thought was possible. Things started coming to me easily. I started to have more connection in my marriage, more connection with my kids, more connection with myself. Life started to slow down. I started to be more present, and I just decided people need to feel this. People need to understand what this is about. And later, early the following year, I was invited into the Mary Kay world. I started the Pink Caddy Coach brand, and here we are 14 years later doing this webinar. So let's talk about first the mindset of prospects in 2019. So now we're going to get into the implementable, juicy stuff, right? We got to understand that people nowadays are a different human. I mean, we are programmed differently than we've ever been programmed. And literally our human species operates in a way that we never operated before. In relationship to direct sales, in relationship to business, the good part or the good news is that more and more people are open to business because they want more freedom. Nowadays, people want the ability to control their lives. Not that people haven't always wanted that, but the internet has expanded our collective idea of what's possible, and people want success for themselves in the form of freedom, certainly in the form of money. So they're open to opportunities, including direct sales. However, they are guarded because they've probably tried something in the past, whether it's another direct sales company or they tried mail this letter to each of your of 5 friends and put $1 in the envelope. And then when you get your money from all the other people, you're going to have $1 million just in a few weeks from now because everybody's going to be sending you $1 bills and whatever the thing is, right? We've tried certain things and we have been disappointed by a lot of our attempts, or we've been taken advantage of. We've had our identities stolen. The internet has created a form of digital trauma for pretty much everybody. I've never used that word before. I'm going to start talking about that. We have a digital trauma because we've had negative experiences digitally because of the internet. And that means that most people are now guarded. The internet's been around for about 25 years. Most people are now guarded from these potential disappointments. And a lot of people think that anything that sounds really good must be fake. And so people are naturally resistant to, not naturally, programmed to be resistant to the very same idea of opportunity that they are naturally attracted to. So we want opportunity, but intellectually we've grown to be resistant toward opportunity. And because our world is such a fast-paced world now, and we're digitally connected to everybody and everything, we're all being bombarded with marketing messages. We're being bombarded with these aggressive, hyper-personalized marketing messages. And if you haven't noticed this, if you click on certain links, you're going to be followed by companies, right? If you watch a certain show, Netflix will suggest to you other shows that are similar to that show. If you go to YouTube, it'll tell you should watch these videos that are similar to the videos you've already watched. So we live in a world where the marketers are now following us, knowing what we type into Google, knowing what we type. Have you ever noticed this, that you can type something in on your phone, click an ad on your phone, and the next time you go to your computer, an ad for that thing that you looked at but didn't buy shows up on Facebook for you, or it shows up on Google, or you automatically get an email about it, right? They're following us everywhere. And that's smart marketing from one perspective, but it also leads to hyper-guarded humans from another perspective. So we have to understand this is the way people are programmed nowadays. And that makes it harder for those of us that need their attention. I believe attention is the new scarcest resource, human resource on the planet. It's attention. Now, what do we need? Those of us that are selling business opportunities or just personal development in any way, you and I are in a very similar business. We're helping people change their lives. You just have a slightly different product. So we need their attention. Well, that's the thing that most people are guarding now. So they have a natural resistance to everything that wants their attention. So instead of us competing for their attention, the ways that other companies with massive budgets and huge teams of people, just massive amounts of bandwidth, way more than we have. Instead of competing with those people who are professional marketers and professional salespeople, they have access to tools and resources that we don't have access to. Instead of competing with them at their game, we need to change the game. We need to understand the way people are operating, but then to a large degree, we need to do the opposite. We need to whisper when everybody else is yelling. We need to slow down when everybody else is moving fast. We need to talk to their heart when everybody else is talking to their head, because they're building a resistance to all of that other stuff. So we need to go under the resistance. So what they have a resistance to is really what all the shortcuts and all the fast tracks and all the one size fits all and all the microwave approaches are built upon. That's bad news and good news, depending on the way you look at it. If you are the person that's chasing the shortcuts, chasing the fast tracks, chasing the microwave approaches, then it's really bad news, because even if it works, it won't work. All of those are based on hype. It's based on hollow facades. There's no foundation in shortcuts and fast tracks. We have to build business. We have to live our lives with solid foundation. Otherwise, we will always be unstable. So there are three big shifts that we have to make. We have to understand that people are being overwhelmed. So instead of us being overwhelmed personally with ourselves, and instead of us giving people overwhelming invitations and overwhelming communication, we need to keep it simple. The way to pierce overwhelm is with simplicity. And I mean, it just happened in my body. When you think simple, when you do simple, when you be simple, you can feel the shift in your body. Your body feels more stable. You feel more grounded. You feel more connected to yourself, to your authenticity, and that connection to yourself will actually transfer to other people. Your connection with yourself will help them connect with themselves, and you will be able to connect with each other much easier when we fight overwhelm with simplicity. The second shift is we got to go from hyper intellectual, because that's the way our world works now. Pretty much all those marketing messages are appealing to people's intellect. They're appealing to people's desperation. They're appealing to people's, I just want to succeed without having to do the work. I just want to lose weight without going to the gym. I just want to drop inches without changing my diet. I just want to get fast success without going through the challenges of building a business or the challenges of failure. People want to skip over what's required and get directly to the results that require the things they're trying to skip over. And marketers nowadays, commercials, movies, media in general, are all appealing to that intellectual desire to skip over things. The intellectual desire to get there now, 0 to 100 now. That's a losing proposition. It's a losing game. My invitation to you is don't try to learn the rules of a losing game. Don't try to get better in the game that is failing and will continue to fail. We got to change the game. We have to be more emotional. We have to be connected to our emotions. We have to play under the surface. You know, imagine this. I just got this visual where if you've ever been in a swimming pool or you've been out in the ocean or some swimming lake or something where there's just a ton of people around, maybe it's a 100-degree day. You got all these people out there. You barely can move your arms because there's just so many people in the water. You're hearing all the things. You're hearing the splashes. You're hearing all the stuff above water. That's like our society. Then imagine holding your nose, holding your breath, and going under the water. All the sounds quiet. You can still see, but you have a different sense of your body. When your ears are plugged with the water, when your eyes are either closed or you can only see as far as the water will allow you to see, when you're no longer breathing and you're more connected to yourself, your experience of this pool or lake or ocean is different because you went below the surface. And if somebody else were to go below the surface and you were talking to each other, you know, just pretending that you could talk to each other, or, you know, talking with your body or whatever, you would be able to cut through all of the noise above because you're playing at a deeper level. That's what we have to do with our society nowadays. We have to be more emotionally connected, and we have to speak to other people's emotions, because all of their sabotage and their fears and their limiting beliefs and their conflicts, all of that stuff is in their intellect. So if you go into that room where all of the fears and doubts and worries live, then you got to deal with all of them. You have to overcome all of those things. That's where all their objections live. So it's much easier to play the simple game below the surface than to play the crowded, complex, hyper-intellectual game that most people are living, and they're massively frustrated in that game. The third shift that I want you to make is, instead of being focused on polishing yourself to perfection or trying to impress people with your accomplishments, with your accolades, with the way you look, with the way you speak, with your perfectionistic tendencies, instead of trying to impress people with the polish, I want you to connect with people with your humanity. Radical authenticity is what will win going forward. I promise you that. Radical authenticity will cut through all of this noise. And I think all the disruption that we're feeling right now in society is running its course. I think it's a required part of this, like, resettling of our humanity, of our society. And here's the cool thing. Nobody has to be taught how to be authentic. They just have to give themselves permission. So none of you need a skill set called authenticity. You just need internal permission to allow yourself to be authentic. You don't need to be taught how to be you. You just need to understand that it's okay to be you. And not only is it okay to be you, my assertion is, going forward with everything we're dealing with in the world and all the stuff I'm talking about now, authenticity will be the requirement. So it's not only okay, it's the only thing that will work going forward. People are tired of fakeness. They're tired of seeing fakeness in other people, and they're tired of being fake for other people. We're just tired of it. Relax into your authenticity and be human. That's what this world needs, is more humanity. That's where our kindness is. That's where our compassion is. That's where our connection is. That's where our courage is. Just be you. And then all the things that you do will be simpler, they'll be easier, and you'll actually be more successful with them. Now, when it comes to clearing some of these internal fears and conflicts that you have, let me speak to a really important confrontational subject. In order for you to be the best seller and recruiter you can be, which is why we're here on this webinar, you need to clean any conflicts that you have around sales, recruiting, judgment, approval, objections, hearing the word no, boundaries, boldness, being pushy. You need to clear all of that stuff internally first. If you don't like being on the opposite side of a sales conversation, if you don't like being the prospect in a sales conversation, you won't like being the salesperson in a sales conversation. If you don't like, and when I say like, that doesn't mean you buy everything. That doesn't mean, you're woohoo excited about it. But if you can't feel comfortable inside the conversation and not be afraid, then when you're on the other side of the table, you will have those same fears. Same thing goes with recruiting. Same thing goes with judgment. Same thing goes with all that stuff, because your internal conflicts get projected onto the other person. And then you will stop yourself from getting into any of those environments that create discomfort for you on either side of the fence. Now, this last word that's italicized here, integrity. Let's talk about integrity for a second. I'm going to tell you something that we've only said once in any kind of public Mary Kay setting. This isn't meant to shame anybody. This isn't meant to feel like trying to get people to feel pity or anything like that, but this is just meant to share the honest truth. So we offer a lot of free consultations in our company. We want to help people clear whatever we can clear, and we give people the opportunity for free consultations all the time. And you know what we find? We find that just in the Mary Kay, now this isn't Mary Kay only because we have people do this all the time, not in Mary Kay also, but in the Mary Kay world. Michelle, if you have any idea in terms of percentages or anything like that, then let me know, and you can unpause yourself in a moment or unmute yourself. Here's what we find. A lot of people that tell us why they want to have a call, they say, you know, I'm just so frustrated because people don't show up and people don't hold their appointments and people don't do what they say they're going to do. And then they don't show up for our call. So what's happening so often is the irritation that we have around what other people are doing. Most of the time, we are out of integrity with that same thing. So we need to clean our own house first. If you are irritated by people not showing up for your appointments, then you better be showing up for yours. If you're irritated with people not respecting your time or not responding to your outreaches or texts or emails or phone calls, then first look in the mirror and make sure you are doing that. Because if you're out of integrity with all the things that you're saying other people are out of integrity with, and it's causing frustration, as long as the frustration is actually happening inside. See, if you're out of integrity with one of your own values, let's say holding your word, if you're out of integrity with your own value, then you're going to see it everywhere. And you're going to be irrationally bothered by it. The reality is people don't hold their appointments sometimes. People don't keep their word sometimes. People lie sometimes. People start things and quit. That's just what people do. If you are highly affected by those things, chances are you are offending that value internally, and you're actually more out of integrity with yourself than other people are out of integrity with you. And then it becomes a filter that we look through the world, or we look at the world through that filter, and then we see the lack of integrity in that one value everywhere. So we have to check in with ourselves, and we have to clear whatever's going on internally for us in order to have clean, clear, healthy discussions about anything related to your business. Now, clearing your conflicts can only happen, in my experience, in this world of personal development, and especially with all the things that I'm talking about that go on in today's society, they can only happen with support. You got to have people that give you guidance. You got to have people that offer new perspectives, and clearing your conflicts can only happen with action. See, most people think that step number one to success is removing your fears, removing your discomfort, and then take action. Step number two is act. And then step number three is succeed beyond your wildest dreams, basically, right? And what most people don't understand is that's backwards. Action has to happen before the fears get cleared, before you can manage, and then during as well. If you're using the excuse that when you think about making phone calls, you have fear in your head, and that's why you don't pick up the phone, you're misunderstanding the process of clearing fears. And if you motivate yourself to try to make phone calls and it doesn't work, or you make the phone calls and you feel nervous or anxious or whatever the case is, then you've got to understand how this process of clearing fears and conflicts actually works. And most people don't understand how it actually works. And most people try to go it alone. They try to do it all on their own. And that has only worked never. The next time it works will be the first time it works ever. But yet most people are trying to do it on their own. And a lot of times it's because they're trying to follow other people's recipes. And that's just not going to be successful for anybody. I've been doing this work for so long, and myself included, I do this work. I teach coaching. I certify coaches. Like, I do this work at a high level, and I cannot fix my own self, my own fears. I can't even see some of my own fears. People need to pair it back to me, or they need to hear the things that are in between my words that I'm not paying attention to. And I do this work with a high degree of ferociousness, right? Now let's talk about how this applies to women specifically. And I don't mean to be abrasive. This is not a man speaking to women in like you're wrong kind of mode or anything like this. This is coming from a reporter's perspective. I've been coaching almost entirely women for 14 years now, most of them in Mary Kay. So I'm telling you what I've learned. I'm not telling you my theories. Most women have an embodied fear of visibility. The feminine energy is not inclined and driven by or fueled by going out there and becoming visible and competing against people and running a race and looking sideways and trying to beat everybody. That is not the feminine energy. And most business is taught from this masculine place of competing, and you just got to go and you got to overpower your fears, and you just got to just motivate yourself. And that's actually opposite to what most women need. And most women have a fear of visibility because that's not fun. That kind of hyper competitive, win or loss, us versus them kind of mentality that is sort of inherent in business to some degree is actually not enjoyable. And so most women don't want to play by those rules. So for any of you that don't understand why you don't put your knowledge into motion, I can guarantee a lot of you, if not most of you, are dealing with that. You're just dealing with a resistance to an energy that doesn't feel good to you. It's not fun for you. And most women have been judged, they've been shut down, they've been controlled by either men or just masculine society. They've been put down, they've been muted. You know, women just were granted the right to vote just a few generations ago. Like, these are embodied programming realities for most women. And I'm saying this because we can actually change all of that. We can operate by different rules so that instead of you just continuing to beat your head up against the wall that hasn't worked yet, we can shift and we can clear some of the conflicts of visibility so that you can have more fun, so that you can be more authentic, so that you can be more passionate, and then you can succeed according to your natural tendencies and your natural programming as a woman driven by feminine energy. And feminine energy that I'm talking about is not external. It's not how you look or how you dress or anything that's necessarily female. It's feminine, and that's different. So the cool thing is when you tap more into that kind of energy, your success is easier, it's quicker, it means less to you, which is a good thing because you're not defining yourself anymore by the accolades, by the performance. And it feels better. It works better and it feels better. That's the key here. Now, if you play by the rules of just overpowering the fears and you do anything that's not authentic to you, I believe succeeding by non-authenticity is spiritual failure. You're either never going to win by those rules because it's not aligned with your spirit, or if you win by the rules, you're going to be even more misaligned with your spirit. So we must do this work in an aligned way. And then finally here, for most women, feeling good has to come first. before the success does. But society tells us you succeed first and then you feel good about your success. You feel good about yourself after you succeed. Well, men are more inclined to succeed by those rules because of the masculine, competitive, me versus you, dominate, perform energy. Those are the rules that men actually feel good about. Most men need to perform well for them to feel good about themselves. Most women need to feel good about themselves for them to perform well. If that's the only thing you heard, write that down and highlight it and underline it and only read it 1,000 times a day. Most men, see if I can recall it. Most men need to perform well to feel good about themselves. Most women need to feel good about themselves to perform well. So we've got to do this in the right order. And in order to do this, especially as women, you must stop the pattern of self-abuse. You must stop the pattern of self-abuse. You must stop the pattern of self-abuse. Let me see if I can be more clear. You must stop the pattern of self-abuse. And it's a pattern. It's an essence. It's in the fabric of most of our dialogue inside. The pattern has to stop. You cannot succeed your way out of self-abuse, especially for women. You must stop the pattern of self-abuse. And if you tried to motivate yourself with threats or shame or guilt or any of those kinds of things that we see all the time, that's actually a pattern of self-abuse, and it's not feminine. It's not nurturing. It's not encouraging. It's not inviting. It's not loving. It's not compassionate. Those are the things that you need to fuel your feminine energy, which is infinitely stronger than society's idea of masculine strength. Feminine power is rooted in humanity. It's rooted in creation. And it's so much more powerful than our intellectual obstacles. So you've got to uproot with what's naturally you. And one of the things that you have to do, especially as a woman, is stop beating yourself up. That will never work. And if it causes you to succeed, that doesn't mean it worked. If you abuse yourself into success, that's worse. I promise you that. I don't have the hour that I want to dive into that further on this call, but abusing yourself into success is actually worse. We've got to change our programming. Now, one of the things that we have to make a shift from in our mind is to go from our employee mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset. And an employee mindset doesn't necessarily mean you just have a job. Although, first of all, a lot of us that are personal development addicts or that are entrepreneurs, we have built up this disdain toward the idea of having a job. There is nothing wrong with having a job. There is nothing wrong with people being happy in their life by having a job. There's nothing wrong with you having financial stability in your life while you build the business on the side. In fact, there are tons and tons and tons of people that need the financial stability, especially women, to build a business on the side rather than just jump off the cliff and deal with all the massive uncertainty that comes with building a business and removing the security, especially financial security, and just creating all this massive pressure. So we have to remove the disdain that we have around having a job. There are two paths. Each one of them are valid. There's nothing wrong with either one of them. You get to choose which one you want to take, and then you just have to play by the rules. The employee mindset is linear, logical, and it's based on guaranteed. It wants intellectual guarantees. It wants to know that if I do this, I'm going to get that. It's based on trade-offs. If I trade my time, you give me money. If I do this task, I get paid. If I ask this question, I get the answer that I want. The intellect is demanding the path to be safe, secure, certain, guaranteed, easy, fast, That's the employee mindset. The problem with that is there is absolutely nothing, not a single thing, not even anything close to a thing about building a business that is linear, logical, or guaranteed. So the employee mindset cannot win on the entrepreneurial path. But most people are highly committed to, connected to the employee mindset because that's how we are programmed. I mean, we're literally programmed from birth to be in this employee mindset. Again, not job. I'm not talking about your occupation. I'm talking about the two types of paths, the employee and the entrepreneur. And what our intellects demand of us is the exact opposite of what building a business requires from us. Listen to this. This awareness and clarity for me is about 48 hours old. What our intellects demand from us is the exact opposite of what building a business requires of us. So you have to make the shift from an employee mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset. And it's not just an easy one. It's not just a flick of a switch because we've been programmed this way for decades. And you can't just intellect your way out of the employee mindset. There is a process. We can all do it, but it takes intention, it takes guidance, it takes understanding, it takes support. And if you stay connected and committed to your employee-driven expectations, which are natural and programmed, they will crush your entrepreneurial goals and dreams. They will crush them. It's not going to be fun. You're just going to suffer. So this shift is something that's so massive, and this is relatively new for me. The first time I even thought of this was a couple months ago. And then we realized, oh my goodness, this might be only the most important thing. Because if you don't if building a business requires an employee, an entrepreneurial mindset, and you don't have the entrepreneurial mindset, then it doesn't matter what skills you learn about building a business. The mindset is wrong from the get-go. The foundation is wrong. We don't have the right engine in the car, so it doesn't matter if the tires are good. It doesn't matter if the brakes are good. It doesn't matter if it's got a great paint job on the outside. None of that matters because the engine is wrong. We have to have the right fuel driving the engine. Otherwise, none of this stuff matters. Now let's talk finally about follow-up. In our world, follow-up is more critical than it ever has been before because people are hyper-intellected and almost attacked from all the marketing messages, and because of the reservations and resistances and guarding and all that stuff I talked about before, your follow-up is more critical than it ever has been, and you have to be consistent. If you put out a message out there and people don't respond to you and you get frustrated, number one, that's because you're in an employee mindset in that moment. And number two, you just probably entered the mass distraction of all the other messages that they're getting. But the good news is the more consistent you are and the more you talk from your heart to their heart and the more you're simple and the more that you are human and authentic, consistency plus humanity wins. Humanity on its own, just one shot won't win. Consistency, fake and inauthentic won't win. Consistency plus humanity. Consistency plus authenticity. That's the way to win. Now, the good news is none of you need to have the skills for either one of those things. It's just permission. But you have to detach from the outcome. You can't make one phone call. You can't invite a few people to your skincare class, to your meetings. You can't show a couple people the opportunity and then just sit there and hover over them and wait for them to say yes. The more that you hover over them, your helicopter energy is going to cause them to scatter. Have you ever seen a helicopter that's close to the water? If you've seen a helicopter that's hovering just close to the water, what is the water doing? The water is trying to get away. There's this massive energy coming from above, and the water's like, leave, I don't want to be here, right? That's what a lot of people do when you hover over them. And your energy becomes distractive to you and to them. It becomes disruptive. It becomes desperate. That's not the way to do it. You have to detach from the outcome, and then you have to keep moving. So you've got to become a moving seed planter and waterer. There's nothing wrong with sending out messages. There's nothing wrong with planting the seeds. There's nothing wrong with sending multiple communications here and there, but you got to keep moving. You can't just send them out and then stop and wait for people. You can water the seeds that you planted, but you got to keep moving. You got to keep planting seeds. That kind of energy is actually infinitely more attractive than planting the seed and then hovering over it. So you don't want to be the thinking seed planted watcher, meaning you don't want to watch the seeds that you planted, and you don't want to be planted as the seed watcher. You got to be moving. You got to have flow. You got to have motion. That's what people are excited about. People want to move. They want to go. They want to progress. They want to expand. They can't expand if you are in a state of contraction and hovering over them and energetically getting frustrated because they're not responding to you. And if you get frustrated because people don't respond to you, you know what your brain is going to tell you to stop doing? Stop talking to people. That's the way we can avoid all this frustration, because you talk to people, they don't respond to you, you get frustrated. I know how to avoid that. Stop all human contact. That's the way people can't disappoint you anymore. That is not the way to build a business based on human contact. So you've got to keep your energy flowing, and that kind of electricity magnifies your efforts and magnifies your success. You got to keep going, and you got to be willing to use whatever mode of communication people want, whether it's texting or different forms of social media. You got to be willing to use the kind of communication that people are designed to use. And this isn't only with millennials. It isn't only with the people that a lot of us older people are like, you're always on your phone and you get nobody has any eye contact anymore. Well, you know what? The younger generation didn't learn technology. They were raised by technology. They knew how to operate an iPad in diapers. And even if we're not talking about people who are young, who are in their 20s, that were raised on technology, society is moving in that direction. We are just becoming way more digital, way more social media driven. And so you just have to be willing. That doesn't mean you have to become an expert on Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat. You don't have to become an expert in any of that stuff. You just mostly have to remove your irritation with it. Your irritation with people not calling you back, with people not showing up to your appointments, with people not doing the things that people are naturally going to do. Your irritation is the most important piece here, not your skill set in any of those particular platforms. So that was right around 45 minutes. I'm pretty happy with myself. What's possible? I just want to share this one quote from Kim, because when you do a lot of this work that we're talking about, it can become easy. She says, the intimidation and fear that used to shut me down is gone. Booking calls have become easy to make. Listen to that. Listen to that. Booking calls have become easy to make. I simply ask for what I want now, and there's finally a sense of calm about my business. I mean, just think what your business would be like and what your results would be like. But more importantly than that, to me as the life coach, what would your life be like if business was easier, calmer, more fun, more passionate, and you were truly in love with what you do instead of constantly frustrated with the results that aren't happening? That's what's possible, but you can't keep playing the surface level rules and expect a below the surface shift. You've got to do this work. So let me invite you to a new class that we're doing based on all the things that we're talking about. This is a Mary Kay only mastery class, not a master class, mastery class, because that's the goal here. It's called the Psychology of Sales and Recruiting in Your Mary Kay Business. We're going to go deep dive in some of the things that we talked about here, but a lot of the things that we didn't talk about here, all with the intention of helping you with your sales and recruiting. And I want to give you a simple filter as to whether this would help you or not. And by the way, everything is guaranteed. So, if it doesn't work for you, you get all your money back. There's not a whole lot of money. I'll tell you that in a second. It's simple. If you know what to do and you're not doing it, then something needs to change in the recipe. There needs to be a different ingredient in the recipe. If you just collect more of the same knowledge or similar knowledge or anything that the intellect thinks is the actual answer, you'll never make a change. You'll never have a breakthrough. You'll never have an embodied shift. Now, I'm not going to teach you all of these things that are on the screen. I just want to give you a little bit of a visual context. I am a life coach. I teach coaches how to understand human behavior. And we are so complex with the way that we operate, with the way that our brains are designed and programmed. So I just want to give you a little visual understanding of what's going on in this crazy, beautiful mind of ours. Our brains are deleting and distorting and generalizing information constantly, all the time, without our knowledge, without our awareness. There's all kinds of internal, external language. We've got memories from literally the moment that we were born swimming around. We've got all these past decisions that we're making, and we want life to be easy. One of the things that the brain does is try to make sure that we don't expend unnecessary energy. So it looks for shortcuts all the time because it thinks that's the right thing to do. But too many times it actually creates more problems and ties more knots instead of create more simplicity. We've got these things called meta programs that are operating like puppet masters with everything that we do, and it changes our perceptions of the world. Every experience we've ever had is literally lodged in our bodies, in our brains, and we've got micro traumas, we've got macro traumas, we've got things that are driving our decisions, we've got identities that we've created all along the way that we're not even aware of, and we don't understand how they're calling so many of our shots. We've got values that we are highly committed to. We've got all these beliefs about ourselves, about money, about success, about other people, about the world in general. It's like a pinball machine in there. Everything goes in, it just rattles against all of this stuff that's in our brain and in our humanity, and then we create behavior. You know what most people are trying to do? They're just trying to alter their behavior without understanding all of this stuff. So I want you to be clear about something. I am not trying to complicate anything. I am not going to try to teach you the way that brain works. I have a course that's 20 hours long diving into this piece. That is not my intention. I just want you to know this is what everything that I will teach you is based on. You don't have to know how the electricity wires work. You just need to be taught that when you flip the switch up, the lights go on, and when you turn it off, the lights go down. Let the electricians deal with all the electricity stuff. Let them take the risk of electrocuting themselves and all the things. We don't need to know all of that, but it's helpful to know what it's based upon. So the things that I'm going to teach you are specific to Mary Kay based on how humans work, based on how this brain operates. So let me tell you more about this class. It's a 4-part live webinar series. We're conducting all 4 episodes in a 2-week period of time. It's all about implementation. It's about mental, emotional, and embodied mastery. Knowledge without implementation is ignorance. If we don't master the ability to implement, then we haven't achieved anything. The goal in this whole program is going to be mastery on all levels as it relates to sales and recruiting in your Mary Kay business. This is a hyper-focused program only on sales and recruiting. We're going to dive deeper into the employee entrepreneurial mind shift and pace you through that and support you through that. We're going to talk about warm chatting skills, mindset, comfort level, everything that goes into warm chatting. We're going to talk about how to get more appointments to hold. That's one of the biggest frustrations that we hear from you. We just did a poll yesterday, and there was like almost 100 people that said, yes, I want to know that because my appointments aren't holding. We're going to talk about keeping team members engaged and committed. Oh my God. We just had this awareness like yesterday. So a lot of the focus on sales and recruiting is selling people into Mary Kay and recruiting people into Mary Kay. But what you got to understand is when people are in Mary Kay, you got to keep selling them. You got to keep selling them on going to the meetings and staying engaged and inventory and recruiting and going to seminar and all the things that are inside Mary Kay. That's still a sales and recruiting process. There are still so many sales and recruiting elements that are happening inside your team. And I'll tell you this, if you can't understand how to sell and recruit when people are on your team already, then what's the point of getting them on your team? I mean, they're just going to quit. They're going to fall out. So I want to help you understand the mindset of buying and selling and recruiting, and what makes people make decisions, and what makes people go to seminar, and what makes people not go to seminar, and what makes them go to unit meetings, and what makes them not go to the unit meetings. What causes this human brain to tick? And if you understand all that stuff, then it's so much easier for you to build your business with more ease and more comfort. We'll talk about overcoming objections, but not in the intellectual debate that most people get caught up in. We'll talk about how to overcome objections unconsciously, both for you and for them. We'll talk about selling to millennials in 2019. The rules of the millennial brain are different than the rules of the baby boomer brain, or different than Generation X, or whatever the other generation titles are. They're different. We'll talk about social media in 2019, how to build your business, selling, recruiting. And I'm just going to be honest, most people that are selling anything on social media are doing it wrong. They're just doing it wrong. And most people are turning way more people off than they are attracting anybody. We'll talk about understanding, I just mentioned this a moment ago, the mindset of the buyer and the mindset of the seller. When you understand the mind, then it's easier to alter behavior. Where to find quality people? That's one of the big questions that we have. Successful follow-up systems. We'll dive deeper into the mechanics of it and the tactics of the follow-up systems, not just the mentality of it. How to sell to different personality types. I know in the Mary Kay world, there's a lot of focus on disc personalities, which is great. And we'll talk about how to sell to different personalities, and really how to sell in a way that the personalities really don't matter. And as I mentioned, the reason I showed you that graphic a little while ago is that we are coaches in this company. We are driven by human behavior at a deep, deep, deep level. And so some of the things that we're going to teach you, even though we're not going to specifically teach you what they are and the hours and hours of understanding and lab work and all the stuff that goes into it, we're going to teach you some of the advanced, the simple stuff that's easy to implement, some of the advanced coaching skills and concepts, especially for the new world, things like leverage and curiosity and creating rapport and values, both for yourself and other people, and human learning styles, and how to engage sensory acuity and be more connected with people, and the new rules of leadership and influence based on authenticity, and how to control your state, how to control your mind, how to control your emotional states and your head talk, all these things, and why people buy and why people lead and why people quit and why people stay connected and committed. All that stuff is in the fabric of this program, and it's all applied specifically to selling and recruiting in Mary Kay. The structure of it is 4 live webinars. I told you, in about a 2-week period of time. You're going to have access to all the recordings to download. You can listen forever. If you miss the live calls, you can get the recording immediately right away. You're going to have handouts. You're going to have a Facebook support community. Our goal is that we help you with your embodied transformation and implementation of this knowledge so that you can have more fun, build a business, increase your success, obviously, and do it with passion and do it in an aligned way. And we start this live program Tuesday, June 18th, which is like 5 days, 6 days from right now when we're recording this webinar. If you get in after the program, if you're watching this after the program, it's fine. You're still going to get access to all those recordings, etc. But if you want to join us, Tuesday, June 18th is the first live class. Now, brace yourself for the investment. It's a big one. It's $20. I want this to be such a no-brainer for you. And there's a money-back guarantee. So if anything about the program, if you think we misrepresented the program, if you don't think that you got your values worth, if you don't think each class, which is probably going to be 45 minutes to an hour or so, is worth the $5 if you want to break it down to per class investment, and you don't think it's going to help you sell like one extra product or recruit one more person, understanding all the stuff that we're going to teach, then ask for your money back and we'll gladly send you the $20 back. So if you think that this is borderline suspicious, that's good. That's what I want you to think. I want you to think, whoa, this is crazy and I should do this, right? And if you think I'm just lowering the price so that you'll buy the program, you're absolutely 100% right, because this is what changes people's experience in business and experience of themselves and experience on the planet. And then we can apply all the skills to your Mary Kay business. So this is a hyper, in my opinion, I'm a little biased, but it's going to be massively valuable for you in your Mary Kay business as well as in your life. And there's no financial risk whatsoever. Money back guarantee. So without mastery, I want you to understand, without mastery, we're always going to struggle because we're always just going to wrestle with the surface level symptoms of all the challenges that we have. I'm more committed to helping people remove the problems than wrestle with the symptoms. You can't just put a Band-Aid on cancer and hope the cancer will go away. You've got to clear whatever the conflicts are. And that's what I want to teach you. I'm a teacher by nature. I want you to ask whatever questions you have inside this course. I'll be teaching it alongside with our head coach, Michelle, who many of you know. She's on the webinar. And I was going to ask her to come on in and say some stuff, but I kept vomiting at the mouth and didn't give her a chance to speak. So if you want to say anything in a little bit here, Michelle, I'll give you the mic. But it's really about full support. We know the game. We know the game of human behavior. We know the game very intimately of the Mary Kay journey. We've helped so many people not just shift their businesses, but shift their experience of themselves, right? Happiness, joy, peace, self-love. I mean, whatever is happening, here's the good news. There's never been a person that I've ever met that cannot be shifted. But we've met most people that won't do it. Most people that are afraid of it, most people that just don't know about it. But we really want to change the game for you. And the reason this is going to be distinct, especially for any of you that haven't joined any of our programs before, I think what you'll find, the reason it's so distinct is because it's coming from below the surface. It's coming from the human behavior aspect, and then it's being applied to a path that we know very well, which is Mary Kay. There's nothing that's going to be controversial against what you've been taught. I'm not going to try to get you to do things that aren't foundational success principles that have been around for generations, because the principles of success will never change. They're the core principles. I'm just going to help you do them. I'm going to help you remove the resistance to talking to people, remove the resistance to selling, to recruiting, to yourself, help you stop the self-abuse, help you implement the things that are collected in your brain that you just haven't been able to implement yet, or increase your implementation. So this doesn't mean that you have to totally be on stop in order for this to support you. You can already be in motion. You can be a director. You can have growth in your business, and we're just going to help you expand. That's one of the cool things about this is no matter where you are, we can help you release the brakes. No matter where you are, there's some kind of sabotage. If you're a human being and your brain is working properly, you're sabotaging yourself. I sabotage myself, and I've spent 15 years and we've made millions of dollars teaching people how to stop sabotaging themselves. The last time I sabotaged myself was roughly 59 minutes ago, probably right before this webinar. And I'm sure I've done it during the webinar. This is what we do as humans. I want to teach you how to manage this human journey and use the brain in support of you instead of in conflict with you. So that's what this is about. I think you'll find it distinct. I know you'll find it massively valuable. That's why we put a money back guarantee. We stand behind everything that we do. And I want you to really understand that true knowledge does not live in your head. It lives in your body, and it speaks through your emotions. So if you know the scripts to say for warm chatting, but when you go and you're in the scenario where you find somebody that you want to warm chat and your body goes, nope, and it floods you with fear, and it floods you with doubt, and it floods you with all these judgments about what if she says no, and she's too polished, or she's not polished enough, or I don't have my Mary Kay face on, or I'm not a good representation of the company right now, or I'm in gym shorts or sweats and a t-shirt, or what if I'm being pushy, or what if she's already been bombarded with Mary Kay invitations before and she doesn't like Mary, and then she's gone. That means you have the knowledge, but you don't have the body. And more knowledge will not increase your body's ability to implement. So that's what we're doing. Denise just asked, she said, I just paid through PayPal. Do I still need to fill out that form? If you paid through PayPal, Denise, nope, you don't have to do it. On that page, pinkcattycoach.com/sales and recruiting. Michelle put it in the chat box. For those of you that are on the webinar, you can just click the chat box. There's a place for you to order. There's a link up there towards the top that says, if you want to pay through PayPal, click that link. You can just click that link, just go through a normal PayPal process. It'll already have the $20 preloaded in there for you. And then we'll take those and we'll do the things that we need to do on our end. And somebody's writing on the screen here, and I don't know how they're doing it, and I don't know how to erase it actually, obviously, also. But you don't have to worry about that. We'll take care of it. So the last thing I want to say, I pretty much end all my webinars with this, is you really have two choices in life. This is the brain's choices, not a Mary Kay specific challenge or conflict here, but we have two choices. One of them is to cope with our sabotaging patterns, to numb ourselves out, to try to overpower our intellectual obstacles, and just try to wrestle with all the symptoms of our sabotage, or we can commit to clearing them away. I don't have any interest in that first one. None. I did it for the first nearly 30 years of my life. I am not interested whatsoever in coping and settling and pretending I'm happy when I'm not, and not living the life that I believe I was put here to live. I'm not interested in coping with any of my insecurities, any of my restrictions. I'm interested in clearing anything that's in my way of having a life that I want and that I think God put me on this planet to live and experience this human journey. That's why I'm here, and that's what I teach. That's what I've studied for years and years and years, and that's what we want to bring to all of you. Somebody just said, where do I sign up? Michelle just put the link back in the chat box there, pinkcattycoach.com/sales-recruiting. If for whatever reason that link doesn't take you where you want it to go, you can't sign up for whatever reason, return any of the emails that we've sent to you, tag us on social media, on Facebook, and we'll support you getting in this class if you want to be in the class. Choose wisely. So with all of that, Michelle, got anything you want to say?
Yeah, join the mastery class.
Woo-hoo!
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it would only be my version of everything that you already said. I mean, this understanding the mind of self and then understanding the mind of the person that we're trying to connect with it's like a secret weapon, right? This extra thing that really takes everything that you're already doing to the next level. I mean, this was a game changer for me. Plus you have myself and Sean, and while I am unapologetically biased, I do not think you could find two people who care more deeply about this work, about your happiness, about your fulfillment, and then about helping you achieve success. I know that we are going to show up for you in I mean, there could be multiple zeros on the end of that 20, and it wasn't even a question for us to make this a no-brainer for you so that you can have everything that you need to be able to move forward in your life, in joy and in purpose. And everything that we are teaching, everything was a personal fundamental shift in both of our lives. So none of this is theory. This is all experience. And I'm excited. I'm excited that we're doing this. I am thrilled that everybody is here, and I'm just pumped to show up and serve.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Somebody wrote something on the screen and I didn't see it. It was something about $20 or something, but if any of you have any questions, let us know, jump in. It's $20. And I want you to understand, this is not a 2-week course. We're going to deliver it in 2 weeks, but this is a rest of your life course. The applications of this is going to be focused on sales and recruiting in your Mary Kay business, but that's only one application of this kind of work. And as Michelle said, it's only changed our lives fundamentally and forever. And that's what we want to share with you. So thank you all for showing up. I acknowledge and honor you for being on the call. Thank you for the energy. Thank you for the comments. I haven't been monitoring the comments. If you have any questions, we're easy to find. The sign up page has been put in the chat box. We'll link it in the Facebook group. If you can't get there for whatever reason, just email us, just find us. If you have any questions about anything at all, then let us know. We start Tuesday, the 18th, June 18th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And you get access to all the recordings for the rest of your life. So that's what we are offering you. Oh, now I'm really interested. I don't know who's writing this. $20 equal. Is this you, Michelle?
No, I wish it was.
$20 equals almost free. Awesome. I don't even know how you're doing this. How are you writing on this screen?
Yeah, could you write like Michelle is awesome? That would be amazing.
I don't even know how this. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Uh-oh, now this is like a group graffiti wall. Make sure you spell Michelle with one L because it really irritates her.
That is not how you spell my name.
Look at this. All right, this is fun. I should know. I don't know how many hundreds of Zoom calls I've been on, and I don't have any idea how to do what you guys are doing. I don't know how to take over the screen. You just basically hijack the screen, and now you're graffitiing all over it, which is fun and cool. And I appreciate you not doing it on the earlier slides. And I'm totally enjoying this right now. And I should learn how to do this.
Human, right? Out yourself to me privately.
Cool. Whoever's writing that right now, you get a discount for the program. For you, it's only $19.98. Not just 1 penny, but two pennies off for you. And if you write Sean is awesome, you might get 3. I don't know.
I'll kick you out.
This is when, if Michelle could, she would end the webinar before that sentence is finished.
Delete.
But I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to make this slow motion on the recording.
Oh.
Cool. Thank you all. We love you so much. Like Michelle said, we can't wait to show up and just support you, help you implement, help you change whatever needs to be shifted. And we can't wait to have you inside the program. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your night. We will talk to you soon.